the video that shows the saddest time in Jentezen Franklin's life. The death of a parent is one of the deepest and most heartbreaking things that can happen to a person. A famous preacher, author, and speaker named Jentezen Franklin lost his father in 2013. It was a very sad and life-changing event for him. It changed every part of his life because of this loss. As a public person, he has been open about his grief. He finds comfort and strength in his faith, which also helps him deal with the deep sadness that comes with losing his dad. Jentezen Franklin's father, who died after a long illness, was not only known to him but also an important person in his life. As a child, Jentezen was impressed by the way his father taught and led. His religious father, a spiritual leader, taught him the beliefs that would guide his own ministry. Their friendship went beyond what you'd expect between a father and son. They respected and loved each other and believed in the power of God. Jentezen lost more than just a parent when he lost his father. He also lost a teacher and a close friend. Franklin has talked about how he wasn't ready for how the death of his father would affect him emotionally in public and in writing. Even though he had been in church for years and taught others about spirituality, he was having a hard time with sadness, confusion, and even anger. He said that after his father died, he felt very weak and powerless. A part of him felt like it was missing, like a key part of its base had been ripped out. The sadness was something he wasn't really ready for, even though he had taught other people how to cook while losing a loved one. This difference between being a spiritual leader and going through grief reveals the common struggle many people go through when they lose a loved one. No amount of spiritual training can protect someone from the pain of loss. People who spend their whole lives helping others can get lost in their own grief. But Jentezen Franklin's reaction to the death of his father showed how religious he was. He turned to God for comfort because he knew that his friendship with God would help him get better. During hard times, he often talked about how important it was to lean on faith and how the promises in the Bible gave him strength. His journey through sadness shows that faith doesn't take away pain, but it can give you hope and strength when things look the worst. Jentezen Franklin both found comfort in thinking about their father. He thought a lot about the times they spent together, the things his dad taught him, and how his dad had shaped his own career. He felt less pain from the loss because he was thankful for having such a strong and loving person in his life. Although his father's death was a terrible loss, he knew that his father's life and the lessons he taught would live on in him and all the other people his father had touched. Franklin used his own grief to help people who were going through similar problems in his work and teachings. He was honest about how painful it was to lose a loved one, and many people who had also lost someone could relate to that. People who were going through their own grief found comfort in the way he talked about his own sadness and was willing to share his emotional journey. He told them that getting over sadness takes time, and that it was okay to feel sad, angry, or even doubtful as they were getting better. When Franklin and Jentezen lost their father, it changed their lives in a big way. It was a deep and painful experience, but it made his faith stronger and helped him understand God's love and support better. Even though sadness never really goes away, it can be dealt with and used to make you stronger and help you grow. Jentezen's story reminds us that there is a way forward even when things are very hard. That way forward is made up of faith, memories, and the help of those around us. There are no words that can fully describe how painful it is to lose a father, but Jentezen Franklin's ability to talk about his grief and how he dealt with it has given hope to many people who have been through similar deaths. His story sends a strong message to the strength of the human spirit and the ability of faith to heal. When Jentezen Franklin's father died, he showed a lot of raw feeling and vulnerability. His father had been both a parent and a mentor to him. As a minister with years of experience helping people through hard times, Franklin was having a hard time with a sense of loss and confusion. His dad was more than just a parent, he was also a spiritual guide. But an important person in Franklin's life. People who lost their father felt the pain of losing a loved one, as well as the loss of a mentor, a confidante, and a source of knowledge. Franklin's reaction to his grief stood out because he was honest. They didn't try to hide their feelings or act like they had everything under control. Instead, they let themselves feel the pain and talk about their sadness. He agreed with that. He had faith and was a preacher, but that didn't make him immune to the pain of loss. He set a strong example for his congregation and anyone else going through hard times by being open about his feelings. It showed that it was okay to be sad, even for someone who was spiritually in charge. That being open and honest was exactly what helped him connect with others who were going through pain. One of the most moving things about Franklin's reaction to losing his father was that he could find comfort and strength in his faith. During his sad time, he found peace in the promises of the Bible and the knowledge that his father was now with God. Franklin's faith saved him and gave him light when everything else around him was dark. He leaned on his bond with God, not because he didn't have to deal with pain, but with a God who knew what he was going through and was with him through it. Franklin had faith, but that didn't mean he ignored his sadness or tried to move on too fast. He understood that grieving takes time and that there is no set time for getting better. He didn't try to rush through the grieving process or push his feelings down. Instead, he gave himself time and room to mourn. In this way, he showed others how to deal with loss in a healthy, faith-filled way. Because he was weak and always trusted that God was in charge, his story of healing and hope was very compelling. Franklin's reaction to the death of his father also showed how important memory and legacy are in the grief process. In the months after his father died, he often thought about what his father had taught him and how his father had affected his own ministry. These memories gave her peace and helped her remember that. Though Franklin's father was not physically present, the lessons and love he had taught him would continue to shape his life and work. Franklin's mental strength came from her sense of duty to pass on what she had done. He dealt with his sadness with a sense of purpose and gratitude by thinking about the good things his father had done. Franklin also did good things for other people by using his own loss as an example. He realized that grief is something that everyone goes through, and his journey through it became a way for him to connect with other people who were going through the same things. He was honest about how he felt and how his faith had helped him. This gave comfort to people who might have felt alone in their sadness. Because he was honest, others felt like they weren't alone in their pain and knew that they, too, could heal through faith, love, and community. As an end, Jentezen Franklin's response to the death of his father showed how to deal with sadness by being open, having faith, and having hope. Recognizing his pain, relying on his faith, and thinking about what his father left behind not only helped him get better, but it has also given a lot of people who are going through similar things hope. Franklin's story showed that even though grief is expected, it's not something that you have to go through by yourself. With faith and love, with help and support, you can get better, and even when things look the worst, there is hope for better times ahead.